Welcome to Pesto Comics Audio Edition. This is the entry for October 23rd, 2024. It's okay to start over, even when it ruins your childhood. Welcome back. I still can't get over how poorly Joker Folie à Deux has been performing. It's not that it's surprising at all. In fact, I knew from the first announcement that this was going to be just a little too weird to work. What I'm more shocked about is that fanboys aren't crying that their favorite villain is ruined forever. Jared Leto. And why IP should be refreshed and rebooted regularly, with caveats. But before we get into that, let's cover some business. Project updates. Do you read Chip Zdarsky's newsletter? You know, the fellow Canadian and, more importantly, current writer of Batman and Public Domain, plus Sex Criminals, Daredevil, Newburn, Spider-Man, Avengers Twilight, and so much more? Well, he took a brief moment out of his newsletter to give Pesto Comics a shout. Why would he do such a thing? Because I'm one of the first advertisers in his real-life newsletter, Zdarsky Comic News. Tell your LCS to grab you a copy. 14 days until Big Smoke Pulp Volume 1. 2 short weeks until the book is out there. The authors have signed contracts, hello to those reading or listening, and the cover has been finalized. It's now just a matter of hitting the launch button and getting to share it with you all. Here's hoping for a very successful launch. Big Smoke Pulp Volume 1 will be on Kickstarter starting November 6th. Naked Kaiju Woman in the new year. Not to take any theme away from Big Smoke Pulp Volume 1, but you can't forget about Naked Kaiju Woman. The script for the sequel is nearly polished, and I'm planning on getting it to Raphael soon. Naked Kaiju Woman launches in 84 days on January 8th, 2025. Event update. Comics in the Brewery. Wayside CreatorCon. This weekend, I'll be in Newmarket selling some comics. I'll also be on a panel with Conrad from Wednesday Night Reviews, talking about launching your indie comics with Fellhound and Amelia Strilchuk. It's an absolutely stacked panel that I don't feel like I pull my weight on. I'm honored to be there. Come this weekend, grab a beer and some comics. Thought Bubble table confirmed. I know where I'm headed next month. My table is C14A in Red Shirt Hall. I'll be sharing a table with Sylvia Califano, who I'm excited to meet. And of course, I'll be hosting the workshop Crowdfunding Indie Comics at 11 a.m. in the Queen Suite. It's going to be a ton of fun. But for now, let's talk about ruining your childhood. DC. 2 sides of the same coin this week. You'll often hear people complain that there's nothing original anymore. Everything is a sequel or a reboot or an adaptation of a reboot. There's some truth to that, honestly. Even things that you would imagine are completely original are just remixes of things that have already been explored elsewhere. Is that a bad thing, though? DC has shown us both sides of the spectrum in that regard. On the film side, we have the new record holder of the fastest dropping box office with Joker. We spoke a bit about that last week and at the beginning of this post. This is a film that's taking a property that has proven itself in having a new take, which was really just a homage to Scorsese movies in itself, and subverted it entirely. It's a film that knows what you want and refuses to give it to you, instead giving you something entirely different. On the other side of the spectrum is the new comic blockbuster, Absolute Batman. This takes the rich billionaire turned genius back detective and turns him into a rough-and-tumble streetwise blue-collar civil engineer. It's the idea of Batman turned on its head, and in more than an Elseworld, the same thing with one thing different kind of way. The only similarities that this Batman and Bruce Wayne share with his traditional counterpart is the name. The comics did it successfully where the film flopped. Why is that? Absolute Batman understands and embraces the core of Batman. Regardless of his upbringing, he feels like he can be an agent for change in his city that he can't bear to leave, even when that city takes his childhood innocence from him. A quick side note, I've read Absolute Wonder Woman as well, and it absolutely lives up to the hype. DC's Absolute Universe is batting 2 for 2 so far. Joker 2 ignores the core of the character, an untethered agent of chaos, and makes him a sad sack with no hope of ever becoming what he sees in his head. It's especially offensive as it undoes the work of its predecessor in an effort to subvert expectations. For Joker, it becomes a question of why use the IP at all if you don't want to use the tropes it gives you. Something you'll recognize. Todd Phillips probably could have done a Mean Streets Taxi Driver homage with a plain old serial killer that never achieves the heights that those around him believed he might. Would it have made $1 billion at the box office? Of course not. It's a surprise to no one that using something familiar to tell your story is a great way to bring people in the door. As much as everyone says they want something new, they only want to avoid the risk of not having a good time. Seeing something they've enjoyed before gives them that sense of security. The problem with that is you need to maintain that security throughout. Joker 2 had no intention of doing that. It ruined the one advantage it had, snatching away the security blanket of something familiar, and it worked against itself in doing so. At the very least, if you're going to work as hard as this film did to go against expectation, it better be done exceptionally well. You can't be dull while doing it, as the D Cinema score can attest. For context, both The Flash and The Marvels, both flops in their own right, got a cinema score of B. This Joker sequel is certainly a blemish on the history of the character and will certainly put an end to this version of the franchise. You ruined my childhood. This refrain is called out every time there's a change, or in Joker's case, a misstep. It's a fallacy. Your childhood still happened. Whatever version of whatever character you loved as a child still exists. Still picking on the Joker, as a character, we don't have to look too far back to see how. Heath Ledger put on a truly legendary performance that no one saw coming. Much like Absolute Batman, this was an entire rethink of the character, but still true to the core of what the Joker represents, while adding new levels of depth with every snicker or sideways glance. Unfortunately, The Dark Knight was our only opportunity to see this version, unless you count Halloween for well over a decade after the film. What we got next is the best attempt to ruin what came before it. Jared Leto's damaged Joker takes what's interesting about the character and barely goes beyond the surface of it. It's crazy for the sake of it. It's not even a cartoony yet scary level of chaos like you get with the animated Mark Hamill versions. It's just a Joker who laughs in the center of his carefully arranged knives because it looks cool. Was that an awful take? Absolutely. Does it do anything to diminish the work done by Hamill or Ledger with this character? Absolutely not. Bonus? Did the Snyder Cut fix it? No, it didn't. Coloring inside the lines. I mentioned last week that there's a skill to coloring inside the lines while telling a new story. When that's misinterpreted, you get Leto's Joker. That shows the limitation of the metaphor. It's less about coloring inside the lines and more about understanding why the lines are there. Why does a character act the way they do? What do they really want? What do they need? What are they hiding? There's more to dig into a character, but if you understand these points, you can change everything around them and still have it feel right. Ledger got that. Snyder and Dragata got that. It's less about the lines and boundaries and more a tether. Keeping characters grounded to a core will allow you to go in all kinds of directions while still taking advantage of the audience's security blanket. Marvel Comics learned that long ago with the Ultimate Universe, which spawned their own hybrid versions of the characters in the MCU. The heroes and villains you see on the screen are neither direct from the 616 nor the Ultimate Universe, and yet they feel right. So, what matters in the end? San Diego Comic-Con revealed stunt casting at its finest, causing everyone to quickly forget the Kang dynasty, as Robert Downey Jr. was revealed to be Dr. Doom. Any hope of a proper Dr. Doom was set aside yet again as we wait and see how this choice works itself out. Will it undo a decade of character-defining work that RDJ put into Iron Man? No, even if they say it does. It happened, there's no undoing it, even if the timeline resets and none of that actually happened. Because it did. Your childhood is intact, even if you changed yourself. Keep an open mind. Enjoy the safety of characters you know and love, but be open to creators that understand the characters and take them into the unknown. That's where the magic happens. And until next week. Coming up on the Substack. October 30th. Con Journal. A new market in Newmarket. Tabling at the inaugural Wayside Creators Con. And November 6th. Don't skimp on the pulp. Big Smoke Pulp Volume 1 launches. Why I admire the pulp era and how it influences my work. And November 13th. I'm no artist, but I try. My adventure with Inktober 2024. And that's it for this week. As always, I really do appreciate you listening. It does mean a lot. So this weekend on Sunday, I will be in Newmarket at Wayside Creators Con. I would absolutely love it if you'd come by. We're also having that panel talking about launching your creative projects, so it'd be really cool if you were there. Definitely check out Wednesday Night Reviews on YouTube. Conrad has a great show there. Usually it does post his panels up there. I don't know if that's the plans for this one, but it's great if you can just see what he's putting up there. It's really, really cool channel with a lot of cool stuff. And yeah, if you're on YouTube already, you might as well check out the Instant Ink comic book podcast. I've been putting a lot of sweat and effort into editing these down and slowly, making them a little better in how the edit goes. I was relying on some tools to do it. Those tools make it a little bit choppy. and not quite where I want them to be. So I'll be a little more careful with that going forward. We're learning as we go, but we have some great conversations nonetheless. My editing could only do so much to ruin those. So I really do think you should check them out. We appreciate everything, likes, shares, etc. Of course. But yeah, we're on Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff through Pesto Comics. You can find it as well. Check out the website, instantincpodcast.xyz. Yes, Canadian Z. But yeah, definitely check it out. It means a lot if you could share that, get that out there. It's growing at a decent rate, but we're still in double digits. We'd love to get to quadruple digits at some point and get a lot of people checking out the show so we can get these excellent creators that are coming on the exposure that they deserve. So please check it out if you can. And yeah, as always, I'll be back next week. I have something really cool I'm announcing if you enjoy these podcasts and things I'm recording. I'll have a lot more in the near future. Check out next week as I review how Newmarket went. Check out the next project that, if you enjoy listening to me ramble on like you are now, maybe it's for you. So, okay, I'll let you go. This was a long ramble. I really do appreciate you listening. Thank you very much. Talk to you next week.